A man steps off a boat onto an island he left 3 years earlier. His whole family lived here. More than 100 people. Instead he finds silence. The houses are gone. The only clue is a single word carved into a wooden post, CROATOAN. No bodies. No struggle. No goodbye. And to this day, nobody knows for sure what happened to them. Back in the 1580s, England was late to the game. Spain owned the New World, and Queen Elizabeth wanted a piece of it. So in 1584 she gave Sir Walter Raleigh a deal: go plant a colony in North America, or lose the right to try. There was a catch. Raleigh wasn't allowed to leave the Queen's side. So he never set foot in America himself. He ran the whole thing from London and sent other men to do it. That decision matters more than it sounds, because when things went wrong across the ocean, the man in charge was thousands of miles away. First they sent scouts. 2 ships crossed the Atlantic and reached the outer banks of what's now North Carolina in the summer of 1584. They met the local Secondon people, and the first contact was friendly. The English came home glowing, describing the land like a garden, bountiful and welcoming. They even brought back 2 native men, Manteo and Wanchese. The Queen was impressed. She named the land Virginia and knighted Raleigh. Everything looked golden. But those glowing reports? They may have been talked up to attract investors. And that gap between the promise and the reality was about to cost lives. In 1585 the first real colony landed on Roanoke Island, led by Governor Ralph Lane. This wasn't families. It was a military outpost, built to scout resources and guard England's claim. It went badly fast. Supplies ran low. Relations with some of the local tribes soured. And the resupply ship they were counting on didn't show up on time. When Sir Francis Drake happened to sail by in 1586, Lane and his men gave up and hitched a ride home. 2 weeks later, the supply mission finally arrived to an empty colony. They left a small group behind to hold the claim, and sailed off. Remember those men. They'll matter soon. In 1587 Raleigh tried again, and this time with a completely different plan. Real settlers. Men, women, and children. Over 100 of them, led by an artist named John White. The plan was to settle up on Chesapeake Bay and just stop at Roanoke to check on those men left behind. But here's where it turns. The ship's pilot, Simon Fernandez, refused to take them any farther. He forced White and the colonists to stay on Roanoke Island. And when they got there, the men from the year before were gone too. Just bones and an empty fort. That was the omen. And they were now stuck on it. There was one bright spot. White's daughter gave birth on the island to a girl named Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. But the colony was low on supplies almost immediately. So the settlers begged White to sail back to England and bring more. He didn't want to leave his family. He did it anyway. And then the worst possible timing hit. England went to war with Spain. Every ship was needed to fight the Spanish Armada. White was stuck. 1 year turned into 2, then 3. By the time he finally got a ship back to Roanoke, it was 1590. And what he found there has haunted people for 400 years. White landed on the island expecting to find his family. Instead the settlement was fortified but completely empty. Every person was gone. No bodies. No sign of a fight. Carved into the wooden palisade was one word, CROATOAN. Nearby, on a tree, the letter CRO. Now, before he left, White and the colonists had agreed on a signal. If they ever moved, they'd carve their destination. And if they were in danger, they'd carve a cross above it. There was no cross. So White read it as good news. They'd gone to CROATOAN Island, home of Manteo's people. He wanted to sail straight there. But a storm rolled in, an anchor was lost, and the sea drove his ship back out. He never reached the island. He never saw his family again. So what happened to them? The honest answer is nobody knows for sure. As early as 1605 people were writing that the colonists may have blended into nearby tribes. Later, the Jamestown settlers heard stories. Some said the Roanoke people had been massacred, others reported seeing people with European features living in native villages. But nothing was ever proven. No solid evidence, either way. The story faded for over 200 years, until an 1834 history book revived it and turned the settlers, especially baby Virginia Dare, into founding legends of America. Here's why this one sticks with people. It's not a horror story with a monster. It's a blank space. 118 real people, families, a newborn baby, just gone, and the only word they left behind points to an island we could never quite reach. Roanoke isn't famous for what happened. It's famous for the fact that we still don't know. And 4 centuries later, that empty spot on the map is still asking the same question John White asked when he stepped off that boat. If unsolved history like this grabs you, subscribe, because we dig up a new strange true story every week. And drop your theory in the comments. Did they survive, or did something worse happen?